Hello everyone, my name is Braden, this is Airless Cool 9, and in today's video, we are going to talk about the Dracolich. Quite excited by this video. This is the Draconic Tyrant Reborn. The vilest of dragons seek to escape the grip of death, employing ageless secrets and blasphemous magic to become horrors called Dracoliches. These deathless dragons bind their spirits to gems and magically animate their rotting corpses. Eventually becoming skeletal horrors, Dracoliches continue the century-spanning plots they pursued in life, seek revenge on those that brought them low, and strive towards vicious goals they couldn't indulge in life. Dracoliches combine the corrupt immortality of the undead with the legendary power of dragons. A Dracolich retains a breath weapon, but it is a chilling necrotic blast. These terrors gradually sicken the land near their lairs and attract sinister followers, usually other undead or cultists seeking to revel in their terrible might. Living dragons of all types loathe and seek to destroy Dracoliches, viewing them as distortions of draconic magic. There are untold profane routes by which a dragon might become a Dracolich. However, one is created. A Dracolich chooses a gem that becomes the anchor for its spirit and binds the deathless dragon to the world. So long as the dragon is on the same plane of existence as its soul gem, the Dracolich can survive the destruction of its physical body. Its spirit retreats into the gem if the Dracolich's body is destroyed, and the monster might one day regain its terrifying form. Dracoliches often sequester their soul gems within meaningful treasure from their hoard or in unassuming baubles. We can roll on or choose a result from the Dracolich Soul Gem Vessels table to inspire what holds a Dracolich's Soul Gem. This is a 1d10 table, and the options available here are that a Dracolich's Soul Gem is hidden in another dragon's treasure hoard, the body of a servant or an ancestor, the core of a Dracolich's melted hoard, a corrupted dragon egg, a dragon horn a hero took as a trophy, a nation's royal or religious treasure, a powerful magic item, a source of magical wonders such as a giant tree or mystical pool, the vault of an archdevil, a wicked god or another extraplanar villain, or the weapon that slew the Dracolich could contain the soul gem. So lots of interesting options available here, and kind of gives thoughts to how you might hide the soul gem of a particularly powerful Dracolich to make sure that it is a recurring villain in your campaign. But that is not all, because Dracoliches also have layers. So, a Dracolich lurks in a corrupted version of the lair that it had in life. The region containing a Dracolich's lair is warped by its presence, creating the following effects. Sapping mists. The area within 1 mile of the lair is lightly obscured by pale fog. Whenever a creature other than the Dracolich or one of its allies finishes a long rest in that area, it must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or gain 1 exhaustion level. That's quite bad. Kind of bad for players to have exhaustion levels, so like that one. The other one here is called Soul Drain. Creatures within 1 mile of the lair have disadvantage on death saving throws, which is arguably even worse. Yeah, that's quite devastating regional effects for Dracolich's lair. Very heavy tax on the players. Quite like those options there. If the Dracolich is destroyed or moves its lair elsewhere, these effects end immediately. The effects resume if the Dracolich gains a new body, and we can see that in its soul gem trait. So, lots of things to talk about here in the Dracolich stat block, so let's go ahead and get to it. We're going to take a look at the 2024 stat block and then talk about what changes have been made to it since 2014, which are probably going to be pretty obvious, but we will discuss them. So let's go ahead and get to it. So the Dracolich is a huge undead, lawful evil. It has an armor class of 20, an initiative of plus 12, 225 hit points, a speed of 40 feet, a burrow speed of 30 feet, and a fly speed of 80 feet. For its ability scores, it has a strength of 25, a dexterity of 10, a constitution of 23, an intelligence of 19, a wisdom of 15, and a charisma of 21. It is proficient in dexterity and wisdom saving throws. For its skills, it has perception of plus 14, stealth at plus 6, immunities, it is immune to necrotic and poison damage, as well as the charmed, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, and poison conditions. Senses, the Dracolich has blind sight of 60 feet and dark vision of 120 feet, as well as passive perception of 24. For its languages, it knows Common and Draconic. And the Dracolich is a challenge rating 17 creature, granting 18,000 experience points, or 20,000 experience points if encountered in its lair. And it has a proficiency bonus of plus 6. In the traits section, we have quite a few. First off, we have legendary resistance. We have 3 uses per day of this ability, or 4 uses per day if we encountered the Dracolich in its lair. We also have life suppression. This allows creatures within 60 feet of the Dracolich to not regain hit points. That's a crazy ability. I love seeing that on there. Quite devastating. We also have magic resistance, granting the Dracolich advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. And then we also have a trait called Soul Gem. This states if the Dracolich has a magical gem. If the Dracolich is destroyed while the gem is on the same plane of existence as it, the Dracolich gains a new body in 1d20 days, retaining all its hit points and appearing within 5 feet of the gem. The gem is a tiny object that has armor class 20, hit points of 50, and immunity to necrotic, poison, and psychic damage. The gem regains all of its hit points at the end of every turn, but it turns to dust if reduced to 0 hit points. If the gem is destroyed, the Dracolich can create a new one by completing an 8-hour ritual using a gem worth 1,000 plus gold pieces and by expending 5,000 gold pieces, which the ritual consumes. In its action section, the Dracolich has a multi-attack, allowing it to make 3 rend attacks. It can also replace one attack with the use of spellcasting to cast Ray of Sickness at level 2. Rend is a melee attack roll with a plus 13 to hit and a reach of 10 feet. On a hit, it deals 2d10 plus 7 slashing damage, plus 1d8 necrotic damage. Necrotic Breath has a recharge of 5 to 6, is a Constitution saving throw DC 20, affecting each creature in a 60-foot cone. And on a failure, each target takes 8d12 necrotic damage, or half damage on a successful save. In the spellcasting action, the Dracolich casts one of the following spells requiring no material components and using Charisma as the spellcasting ability. Spell save DC 19, plus 11 to hit with spell attacks. At will, it casts Detect Magic, Ray of Sickness at level 2, and once per day each it can cast Create Undead at level 8, and Finger of Death. In the Legendary Action section, the Dracolich has 3 uses of Legendary Action. It has 4, however, if encountered in its lair, which is quite nice. And it can take these actions at the end of another creature's turn by expending a use, and it regains all expended uses at the start of each of its turns. The first legendary action is called Pounce. This allows the Dracolich to move up to half its speed and make 1 rend attack. Sickening Ray allows the Dracolich to use spellcasting and cast Ray of Sickness at level 2. And the Dracolich can't take this action again until the start of its next turn once it does so. And then the final one is called Terrifying Presence. This is a Wisdom saving throw at DC 19. Each creature in a 30-foot emanation originating from the Dracolich is affected. And on a failure, a target takes 2d10 psychic damage and has the Frightened condition until the end of its next turn. On a failure or success, the Dracolich can't use this action again until the start of its next turn. So, yeah, that's the Dracolich stat block. There's a lot going on in here, and I really want to talk about the changes made from 2014. So let's go ahead and get to it, because there's a lot to discuss here. So I have included a nice little sidebar here, which lists every single change in the stat block, because there are quite a few, but we are going to talk through each of these. So first off, the Dracolich used to just be an example stat block of an adult blue Dracolich, so obviously there are going to be changes here. Now it doesn't matter what type of dragon the Dracolich was in life, they now all use this same stat block, and honestly it makes a lot of sense and it's a lot cleaner, but because of that there are quite a few changes here. So let's go ahead and talk about them. First off, the Dracolich used to have an armor class of 19. It has been increased to 20, which is nice. It also has a massive bonus to initiative that it did not have previously. Used to be +0, now it is a +12, so it now has expertise and initiative rolls, which is quite nice. The next change here is that the Dracolich no longer has proficiency in Constitution and Charisma saving throws. However, it has seen some other benefits here. First off, the Intelligence ability score used to be a 16, it is now a 19, so it has seen an increase there. And Charisma used to be 19, and it is now 21, so they have seen some small stat boosts that they did not have previously, which is quite cool to see. Next up, the Necrotic Immunity used to be Resistance in 2014, so that is a buff there. However, the Dracolich used to have Lightning Immunity because it was an adult blue Dracolich, so that is no longer present in here because of that particular change, which is fine, honestly. I'm trying to make a undead dragon, so this is the stat block that we now have present here. Next up, this is a small change, but you do gain additional experience points when killing a Dracolich in its lair, as is seen here in the CR section. You gain 20,000 experience points when defeating a Dracolich in its lair, so something to add. And then in the Legendary Resistances section, we do get an additional Legendary Resistance when encountering a Dracolich in its lair, and although I did not underline it in the Legendary Actions section, the Dracolich does gain an additional use of Legendary Action when encountered in its lair as well, as you can see in that section. So some mechanical benefits there when encountering the Dracolich in its lair, which are quite nice. But Life Suppression is an entirely new trait to the Dracolich, and oh boy, what a scary trait that is. Quite nice to see that in there. I'm happy with an additional trait in there. And then the Soul Gem is a new trait. This functions very similarly to what I imagine the old phylactery used to be. Wizards did change the name from phylactery because it does have some religious importance. So they have changed it for sensitivity reasons to Soul Gem, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. But now they have spelled out what the mechanical changes or the mechanical benefits the Soul Gem are and how that affects the Dracolich. So that is why there's an additional trait now for that in the Dracolich stat block, which is nice to see. Next, when we get to the action section, of course, there are quite a few changes here, which makes sense. The first of that is going to be this Rend attack. This is now a consolidation of the bite, claw, and tail attacks into one, and it deals almost the exact same amount of damage as the previous bite attack, which is pretty good. The only real difference here is that the damage, or the physical damage, has been consolidated to slashing, and then what would have been a D10 for the bite attack and necrotic and lightning damage has been changed to 1d8 necrotic damage. So very small change there, but overall a lot more physical damage with that multi-attack, so a decent buff there. We also get the option of replacing one of those attacks with a use of spellcasting and cast Ray of Sickness at level 2, which is quite nice because Ray of Sickness does deal 2d8 poison damage normally, and in this version we do cast at level 2, so that is going to be 3d8 damage instead, so nice benefit there. Quite happy to see that. Next up, we have Necrotic Breath. This is now the new breath weapon, since Lightning Breath is no longer prevalent in the stat block, because this is just for all types of Dracoliches. And the real mechanical changes here are that Constitution saving throw is no longer Dexterity saving throw, which it used to be. And the damage here is slightly different. It used to be 12d10, now it's 8d12, which is less damage, but it is now a Constitution saving throw, so quite different here. And it's a lot more thematic for the Dracolich. But we do get the addition of a spell casting action as well, so all of these options in here are entirely new, and a lot of them just make sense. I mean, Detect Magic, nice utility spell, but Create Undead, Finger of Death, and Ray of Sickness, great thematic options for a Dracolich to use, so makes a lot of sense here. I do want to make a quick mention here that the Dracolich does not have Frightful Presence in its action section. However, there is something very similar to that in the legendary action section that is now the Terrifying Presence legendary action. But speaking of legendary actions, there are quite a few changes here. So beforehand, we used to have the Detect, Tail Attack, and Wing Attack legendary actions. Those are no longer present, and now we have entirely new thematic legendary actions for the Dracolich, and these come in Pounce, Sickening Ray, and Terrifying Presence. So yeah, pretty nice changes here. Really like what they have done here, and I do feel like this just fits the thematic theme of the Dracolich a lot better, and it just looks a lot nicer mechanically and is a lot easier to use, and a lot of unique options. And I really just like the design of Dragon stat blocks a lot better in 2024. Yeah, just overall happy with these changes, and really like what they've done here with the Dracolich. Very, very happy. And this is a pretty scary Dracolich here. I think overall the scariest thing in the stat block is that life suppression trait. I can't wait to use that on my players and have them lose their mind that they can't heal themselves. That's just gonna be fun. That's a fun realization in combat. Yeah, quite happy with the stat block and really looking forward to using it one day. So yeah, that is the Dracolich stat block, so hope you enjoyed that. But that is going to be it for this particular video, so thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. We are going through every stat block in the 2024 Monster Manual, so keep an eye out for these videos dropping every weekday. And yeah, we're going to keep at it until we are done with all these stat blocks. So yeah, just keep an eye out for these videos as they drop in daily on weekdays. But until the next video, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.